Good afternoon, Yogi Clan. Today we are working on a 2018 Kawasaki Vulcan Vaquero. Customer needs a new rear tire. Quick inspection of the bike with the saddlebags removed. Looks set up just like a Harley with brake calipers on the right, some adjustments for the belt tension, and it is a belt-driven bike. So we're going to go ahead and get the jack set in place, start loosening up his exhaust, get those off the brackets so we can get his axle out, get that bike jacked up. Then we're going to pull the cotter pin on the nut of his axle. Don't forget your handy cigar box, mentioned in an earlier video, so you can put all your parts in them so they don't get lost. We're going to break the two bolts open on his brake caliper here and go ahead and get that brake caliper removed and just lay it across the bar for the saddlebags. I'm going to go ahead and loosen up this exhaust pipe also. That way I can get a rag in there and protect that pipe while I put a socket on there so we can break open his axle nut. It's going to take quite a little bit of pressure. If you need some help, I have a spare pipe that I keep around the shop that sometimes I'll put on there, act as a cheater bar, and get that axle nut loosened up. Go ahead then and pull that axle nut off. And the next thing you want to do is loosen up your belt tension. You can see here I am marking. Kawasaki has a factory marker on there for its belt tension, but I go ahead and just put a little mark so I remember where it was set. Then you can loosen up the lock nut and then loosen up the adjustment nut and take that pressure off the belt. I'm going to do the same thing from the other side of the bike, and you can see I move that tire forward after I get it loosened up and take the belt off. From here you can go ahead and start working the axle out. I wound up tapping it on the one side so I can go around to the back side of the bike and go ahead and just pull that axle straight on through. Don't forget you have some spacers in there. Make sure you get those pulled out and make sure that you pay attention to how they are put in there, because it is specific on how they go in there. From here we can jack up the bike and pull the wheel out from under the bike. The same way I change tires on the Harley is the same way I change tires on any bike. First thing you need to do is put some blocks on the ground, get that tire put on there, protect the hub, pull out the valve stem, put a 1x6 underneath, and grab your two 10-inch clamps and put them on the tire and start clamping down. Now when you do this, you're going to want to make sure that you alternate pressure on either side and push that bead down as fairly level as you can and equally as you can. And you'll notice that there's threaded rod on there that works the clamp. If that starts getting too close to your rim, you're going to want to put some kind of rim protector in there because that threaded rod will eat away at the rim. Now I've done this method in previous videos and I'll link those up here so you can see it a little bit more in depth. I figure I'd just play this and fast forward so you can get an idea real time kind of what it looks like. Now as I start working that bead down there, occasionally I'll put my foot up on there just to give a little press to see if the bead is ready to pop off the rim. And if not, well, I guess you need to crank a little bit more. Now, as you get it close to popping off and the further down you push this, the harder it's going to be to turn that clamp. So I'll grab that cheater bar that we used for the axle nut and go ahead and put that on there and see if that can help me out a little bit. But here you can see it's getting kind of tough to crank it down. So I'm going to step up on there and see if I can get that to pop off the bead. But it doesn't look like it's going to do it quite yet. So let's turn just a little bit more. There's the cheater bar. Couple more turns and boop, there it goes. It popped off. Now you can step up and work that bead off around the rim. From here, just back your clamps out, flip your tire over, do the exact same thing on the other side. Make sure that board sits on the tire and catches just the edge of the rim as you're doing this. You can see I put my cheater bar back on there, a few more turns, and there we go. Bead is off on this side too. Now for actually getting the tire off the rim, the first thing I'm going to do is hit it with a little bit of Windex. That way I got a little bit of slippery surface on there. And I'm going to put my knees on the back side, try to get that bead or get that tire sitting below the bead of the rim, and then work on the opposite side, putting my rim protectors in there. which honestly are just made from cut up old laundry detergent bottles, and start working that bead off. You're going to want at least 2 to 3 tire spoons to do this process, and just walk your way around the tire. Not a very hard process, just takes a little bit of time, a little bit of patience. Once you've done it a few times, it kind of gets a whole lot easier. Now, as you walk that around, once you get it about halfway done, then you can kind of just pull your tools out, lift up on the tire, get that last little bit to pop off. From here, pull everything out. The easiest way I've found to get this rim out of the tire from here is stand it up on the edge, put your tire spoon through, catch the edge of the rim, put your rim protector on, save your rim, and then go ahead and just pry and get that rim to pop out on the back side of the tire. I find that's the easiest method for getting it out. From here, put your wheel back on to the blocks, the wood blocks. Notice which direction your wheel turns. You can do that by looking at the brake caliper and make sure your tire is in the faces the same direction. Motorcycle tires quite often are directional, and you want to make sure you get them put on the right way. Get that tire seated on the rim the first side, then you can do the exact same thing. Get the side closest to you started, push that sidewall down below the bead of the rim, and then just start working your way around both left side and right side, getting that tire to seat with the side furthest from you being the last place that you try to get over the rim. That's going to be the hardest spot. See here, we got the right side. Now we're going over to the left side and just walk around the tire. Go back over to the right side, get the front to go, and then just keep going around the tire. Just got one little bit left to go. Press, press, and pop. It's on. The tire's on the rim. Now I go ahead and start putting some air in there and get those beads to start seating. But before I seat it, I put 2 ounces of Dyna beads in there to balance the tires. I find this method works well. Then go ahead and seat it. You can see right there where the dust flew off. There's the first pop, and there it goes. There's the second pop, is both beads seating the rim. You want to make sure you check your tire pressure before you put it back under the bike. Get your pulley mounted back on the wheel. Get the wheel positioned centered under your fender. Get your belt put back on, and you can start lowering the bike in place. Before you get it fully down, you're going to want to make sure you get your spacers put in there first. Get the bike lowered down so it looks like the axle lines up, and you can start getting your axle put in there and push through to the other side. I then finger tight put on my axle nut just to hold the wheel in place and hold the axle in place. And then I start setting my belt tension. Remember, belt tension guide from what we talked about before and measured, or you can go ahead and marked rather, you can go ahead and tighten down on your adjustment nut. And once you get it lined back up to where it was, you can go ahead and secure it with the lock nut. Once you got the belt tensioned and put in place, you can also put a tension tool on there to check the deflection of the belt to make sure you have the right tension. From here, we're just going to go ahead and tighten up our axle nut to torque specifications. And don't forget, once you've got that torque down and tightened up, don't forget to put your cotter pin back in. From there, we're going to go ahead and take a screwdriver and just very gently push those pads apart. You want to make sure not to scratch and mark up your pads. Once you have them separated, you can go ahead and put them on the brake rotor. Get that put in place and put the 2 bolts back in to hold the caliper onto the bracket. Don't forget, once you get this tightened up and you're ready to go, to pump those rear brakes. So many times I've seen shops do motorcycle tire replacements and they forget to pump the brakes on there. A customer gets on the road, heading down the road, and realizes, oh no, I have no brakes. So don't forget to pump up your brakes. From here, we can just bolt up our exhaust, put our saddlebags on, and call it a day, Yogi Clan. It's really that simple, not too hard. Catch you on the next one.